3 men, 3 states, 3 executions, each with a method more controversial than the last. In September 2025, America's death row turns deadly. September 2025 is set to witness 3 chilling executions across the United States. From a convicted child killer in Texas to a decades-old murder case in Utah, we're diving into the stories behind each name, the crimes they committed, and how they'll face their final moments. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you're fascinated by true crime and want the full story behind headlines, this channel is for you. Ralph Leroy Menses, Utah. Ralph Leroy Menses was born in the year 1960 into the quiet hum of mid-century Utah, the son of the American West, where open skies meet hard truths and the land stretches as far as the eye can see. In the early years, Menses lived as so many others did, unremarkably. His childhood, though not well documented, unfolded beneath the same sun-drenched skies and cold desert moons as countless others. But somewhere along the way, the path diverged. Choices were made. Darkness gathered. By the 1980s, Menses had already built a record of violence and instability. He was no stranger to the law, but in February 1986, he crossed a line that would forever alter not just his life, but the life of Maureen Hunsaker. She was 26, a telephone company worker, vibrant, responsible. She had stopped to help a man she believed was in need, a man who turned out to be Menses. There is a tragic irony in kindness meeting cruelty. And on that cold day in February, Maureen's compassion became her undoing. Menses kidnapped her, bound her hands, and drove her to a secluded canyon near Salt Lake City. There, surrounded by ancient stone and frozen silence, he strangled her using a length of rope, a makeshift ligature. Then he left her body partially buried, as if the landscape itself might absolve him. He was caught days later after witnesses reported seeing him with the victim's vehicle. Evidence mounted. A jury was swift, and in 1988, Ralph Menses was sentenced to death. But Utah's machinery of capital punishment does not move quickly. For more than 35 years, Menses remained on death row, aging within the stark walls of the Utah State Prison. Over time, his health began to fail. His mind, once capable of such calculated evil, eroded into confusion and memory loss. Today, he suffers from dementia and other serious conditions. Some doctors question whether he fully understands why he is being executed at all. Still, the state persists. And now, in a final twist of fate, Menses has chosen a method that echoes the old frontier justice of the American West: the firing squad. Yes, he has declined lethal injection, citing mistrust in the chemicals used and concern for the unpredictable effects on his frail body. Instead, 5 anonymous riflemen will be assembled. 1 bullet will be blank, the rest real. He will be strapped to a chair, a target placed over his heart. It is a method both primitive and precise, a practice that has become nearly extinct in the modern age. Menses is scheduled to die on September 5th, 2025. If carried out, it will be the first firing squad execution in Utah in over a decade, and one of the last anywhere in the Western world. But the question remains, is it justice to execute a man who can no longer remember his crime? Activists and legal scholars have argued that Menses is no longer competent, that his mind is too far gone for punishment to hold meaning. Others claim that time alone cannot erase accountability. And so, as the sun rises over the Utah desert on that fateful September morning, a final act will unfold. 1 man, 5 rifles, and a silence older than law itself. The execution of Ralph Leroy Menses will not just mark the end of a life. It will raise questions that linger in courtrooms, in ethics debates, and in the cold corners of American justice. Jeffrey T. West, Alabama. Jeffrey T. West, born in the early 1970s, came of age in a world of quiet routine. But by the fall of 1997, that calm would shatter, replaced by the sharp echo of gunfire inside a small-town convenience store. Her name was Margaret Parrish Berry, a clerk, a mother, a life defined by modest grace and daily ritual. But on one ordinary shift, Jeffrey West entered the store with a gun and left with far more than money. He left with a life taken. Berry was shot multiple times in what prosecutors described as a cold-blooded robbery gone violently wrong. The community mourned, the jury condemned, and in 1998, Jeffrey West was sentenced to death. But while the verdict was swift, the punishment would not be. For over 25 years, West has waited on Alabama's death row. His life paused between sentencing and execution. Now, the clock ticks louder. His date with death is set, September 25, 2025. Yet it is not only the crime that stirs debate, but the method chosen to carry it out. A new frontier in American execution, silent, invisible, and deeply controversial. West is scheduled to die by nitrogen hypoxia, a method that replaces oxygen with pure nitrogen, rendering the body unconscious in seconds, or so it is claimed. Supporters argue it is painless, even more humane than lethal injection. But critics warn it is largely untested, invisible, and unproven in its effect on the human body. West will become the sixth person in Alabama to face this experimental death. Only 7 executions by nitrogen hypoxia have ever been scheduled nationwide. No burning, no blood, no needles, just breath withheld. This modern method, so quiet and sterile, has reignited fierce debate. Is it a technological evolution of justice or a clinical disguise for an ancient ritual? Advocates for West say his execution lacks transparency, that the protocol is shrouded in secrecy, that nitrogen gas, while common in labs and industries, was never meant to take human life. And yet, the date remains. On the evening of September 25th, within the concrete walls of Holman Correctional Facility, Jeffrey T. West will inhale what may be his final breath of oxygen, and what follows will unfold in silence. This is not just the end of a trial. It is the continuation of a national experiment, one where science, ethics, and justice intersect at a single, irreversible moment. Blaine Milam, Texas Blaine. Keith Milam, born in the late 1980s, was just a young man when he crossed a threshold from troubled life into the abyss of unthinkable violence. His victim? Amora Carson, the 13-month-old daughter of his girlfriend. It was December 2008 when first responders arrived at the small home in Rusk County. What they found inside would haunt investigators for years to come. Amora's body was battered, her tiny frame bearing the marks of a night filled with horror. Milam and his girlfriend claimed the child had been possessed and that they were performing an exorcism to drive out a demon. But what occurred, prosecutors argued, was not spiritual ritual, it was torture. A child, defenseless, caught in a vortex of madness, superstition, and rage. Milam was arrested, tried, and in 2010, convicted of capital murder. The jury was unanimous. He would face death by lethal injection. And yet, justice in this case would not be swift. For 17 years, the legal system has circled this crime, probing, questioning, delaying. Milam's execution has been stayed multiple times. Attorneys raised concerns about faulty forensic evidence, mental illness, and even prosecutorial misconduct. At one point, courts paused the case to re-examine bite mark analysis, a forensic method that has since been widely discredited. Despite this, the state of Texas has now set a firm date, September 25, 2025. Milam will receive lethal injection, the standard method in Texas, where more executions are carried out than in any other state. A single needle, a chemical cocktail, and the end of a man's long journey through the machinery of American capital punishment. Still, the questions linger. What role did mental illness play? Was Milam truly in control that night? Did the system move too fast or too slow to uncover the full truth? In the final hours, answers will fade, but the memory of this case will not. Blaine Milam's execution will not only close the chapter on one of Texas's most disturbing modern crimes, it will also leave behind echoes of debate about faith, science, and sanity in the face of tragedy. These cases reflect the diversity and controversy of capital punishment in the U.S. From firing squads to nitrogen gas, September 2025 will see the justice system at its most final. Whether you support or oppose the death penalty, these stories leave behind lasting questions about law, punishment, and redemption. Which case shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share if you want more deep dives into death row and beyond. Stay curious, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next True Crime Countdown.